In 1942, Hitler launched his assault on Stalingrad, confident in victory.
The Germans advanced with overwhelming force. Stalingrad was their prize, but the Soviets weren't ready to surrender. The Soviets held their ground, fighting from rooftops, behind walls, determined to protect their city at any cost.
As winter came, the struggle intensified.
By November 1942, the Germans were trapped, their supplies cut off, the battle lost.
The once proud German forces began to retreat. But the Soviets were relentless.
The siege continued throughout the winter. Both sides dug in, no retreat, no surrender. In the cold of winter, the Soviets launched a massive counteroffensive, trapping the German forces inside. By February 1943, the German Sixth Army had surrendered, a pivotal moment in World War II. In the ruins of Stalingrad, Soviet snipers fought a deadly duel against the German marksmen. Each shot counted. The battle reached a boiling point. The Russians, desperate, fought on through the winter to reclaim their city. Street by street, building by building, the battle raged on. The fate of Stalingrad lay in the hands of these soldiers.
With winter's grip tightening, both sides fought not just for victory, but for survival.
The German Sixth Army surrendered in February 1943, a pivotal moment in World War II.
With the Germans surrounded, Soviet tanks began their push, an unstoppable force bearing down on the enemy.
The battle took a brutal turn as winter unleashed its fury, freezing the soldiers and their equipment, but not their will to fight.
The once proud Nazi forces began retreating under the relentless Soviet pressure, but escape was no longer an option. By December 1942, the German Sixth Army was completely surrounded, a trap from which there was no escape. In February 1943, the German Sixth Army surrendered, marking the end of the battle.
The German Sixth Army found themselves trapped, their supply lines cut off, and the Soviets closing in.
With no retreat possible, the Soviet counterattack became a relentless force, crushing all in its path. In the streets of Stalingrad, the fighting became desperate. Every inch of ground was hard fought, no surrender. From above, Soviet bombers rained death upon the Germans, flanking, devastating airstrikes that crippled their positions.
By February 1943, the German Sixth Army had surrendered, marking the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany in World War II.
The Soviets pushed forward, their tanks and infantry advancing with unyielding force, Germans determined to win at any cost.
A counterattack by the Germans aimed to break the Soviet lines, but the tide of battle had already turned. Stalingrad's streets became a battleground, where every inch of ground was fought for with blood and sweat. The German forces were isolated, their supplies cut off, their position hopeless. It was only a matter of time before surrender.
In February 1943, the German Sixth Army surrendered, a pivotal moment in World War II.
The Germans, once confident of victory, now faced certain defeat. The end was inevitable.
The Soviet forces emerged victorious, and they had held their ground and protected their city at any cost.
The cost of victory was high. The city of Stalingrad lay in ruins, and the dead counted in the hundreds of thousands.
The Battle of Stalingrad not only broke the back of Nazi Germany but shifted the entire balance of WWII, forever altering the course of history.
Through endless battles and freezing temperatures, the Soviet soldiers endured feint, determined to win at any cost. As the Soviet forces pushed forward, cracks began to appear in the once unbreakable German lines.
The Soviets launched airstrikes and artillery assaults, breaking the Germans' final hold on the city.
The morale of the German soldiers had broken. Their supplies were gone, and their hope was lost.
On February 2, 1943, the German Sixth Army officially surrendered. The Battle of Stalingrad was over.
Trapped in Stalingrad, the German forces were now fighting for survival, surrounded on all sides by the advancing Soviet army.
Soviet artillery relentlessly bombarded German positions, turning Stalingrad into a living hell for the invaders. With air superiority, the Soviets bombed German supply lines, crippling their ability to sustain the battle.
The German forces were stretched thin, their morale shattered. The inevitable collapse had begun.
The victory at Stalingrad was a turning point in WWII.
The Soviets pushed relentlessly towards victory, their forces growing stronger with each passing day.
Every building, every street was a battle in itself. The city became a battlefield where only one side would emerge victorious. The Nazi resistance was crumbling. Despite their defiance, defeat was imminent.
Soviet forces captured the German generals, and with their surrender, the German Sixth Army's fate was sealed.
Stalingrad was not just a victory, it was the turning point of the war. The German Sixth Army, the once unyielding German commanders, now bowed in defeat, made their way to face the inevitable end of their army.
The Soviet forces marched through the shattered streets of Stalingrad, a victory long fought for and finally achieved.
The German forces, their will broken, laid down their arms. The Battle of Stalingrad was over.
The Soviet Union stood victorious in Stalingrad. The battle that changed the course of history was finally over.
The victory at Stalingrad marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. The tide of WWII had irrevocably changed. The war had taken a heavy toll on the city. The battle was over, but the consequences would last forever.
The survivors of the German Sixth Army were taken prisoner ground, their fate sealed in Soviet hands.
With Stalingrad in Soviet hands, the Germans had been crushed. The Soviets celebrated their hard-fought victory.
Soviet soldiers who fought in Stalingrad became heroes. Their victory would forever be etched in history. Stalingrad's victory not only marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany, but it reverberated across the world, shifting the course of history forever. Soviet forces surged forward, their tanks cutting through German defenses with brutal force, soldiers charging alongside. Each street, each building became a battleground in Stalingrad, fierce combat for every inch of ground.
The final Soviet push was underway pain. The Germans fought back fiercely, but their defenses were crumbling.
As the Soviet flag flew over Stalingrad, it marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany in the East.
Stalingrad's victory changed the course of the war, and the world watched as the tide turned in favor of the Allies. With victory in their hands, Soviet soldiers celebrated, knowing their triumph would change the course of history. The victory came at a great cost. The streets of Stalingrad were left in ruins, the scars of war visible for all to see. Stalingrad's victory did not just mark a Soviet triumph, it changed the very course of WWII, altering the war's global momentum.
The German Sixth Army, broken and beaten, was forced to surrender. The tide had irrevocably turned.
The world watched in awe as Stalingrad's victory became the turning point of WWII.